Hello, welcome to a bonus round of 2D goodness. So if you have watched the whole of my series on 2D platformer, fantastic. I hope you've enjoyed it. And this is a bonus one because in the series we created a 2D platformer with the character with a sword, but people want to create something with shooting, so that's why I'm here to add this kind of little extra thing on. As well as that, I'm going to be linking kind of my tutorials from something that Brackeys did as well with 2D shooting and kind of splice them together, because I know a lot of people, especially a lot of my learners, are watching Brackeys and going, right, okay, how can I implement that into my own kind of scripting or coding, or my teachers' scripting and coding. So it's for them, but it's also for you YouTuber people as well, in case you have similar code. I hope you do. Anyway, so you can follow along with this as I have downloaded a let's have a look in downloads. There we go. We've got 2D shoot package from Unity. So what we can do is I'm going to right click on here, go to import package, custom package. I'm going to click on that 2D shoot. This will be linked down below on a Google Drive, so you can download this and implement this in as well. Cool, and we're going to take everything. You get a load of pretty much just character animations with it, as well as obviously that shooting animation. Oh, sorry, I've just got a cup of tea to make life a little bit easier. The open scenes have been modified. Okay, cool, that's fine. Lovely, there we go. So reloaded my scene, and this should pop up for you. I'm just going to clear that on the console. I'm not worried about that. And if you press play, at the moment you should have the idol with your female idol character, and she should be able to walk both left and right, but she won't have a jump or anything like that, because this is just an example of how we can get this character to shoot. Cool, that's fine. Okay, so what we're going to do first is set up the actual kind of shoot animation and implement everything that we've done within my past tutorials before, and then implement what the Brackeys tutorial is as well. If you are intrigued about the Brackeys tutorial, I'll link that down below as well. Okay, so let's set up this animation for my character here. So as you can see, I've got a main camera, I've got a floor, which is this here, and I've also got the player with the player sprite. The player sprite's got the animator and the sprite render on it, and the player itself, player object itself, has got the script on it, and the player animation script, as well as the rigid body and the box collider. Cool, so I'm going to click on sprite, and this will enable me to show the previous animation. So there's idle and run there. What we're going to do is click create new clip, and I'm going to call this shoot, because this will be our shoot animation. So I'm going to save this into animations. So as you can see, I can go to click on animations there and just call this shoot. That's perfect, and click save. Lovely, so that's all been set up for me. Okay, so if we go into the player, a folder called player, you'll see that we've got lots of different animations or folders of animations here, and the one I'm looking for is going to be shoot. If you want to do run and shoot, you can do that yourself after this very tutorial. So if I click on this sprite, as you can see, we've got all of our import settings here. What's important to know, or important to note, is that there is only one frame for this, so it is going to be a quick sort of fire. She'll quickly do the animation and then revert back to idle. That's fine. It should look okay. We can fiddle with the kind of the transitions if there is a bit of a delay or it looks a bit too messy. We can work with that within the animator tab in just a moment. One thing we are going to change is change the pixels per unit. At the moment that's 100. We're going to change that to 16 pixels per unit, and then we are just going to scroll down and click apply. So what we're going to do is on our shoot animation here, we're going to click record and we're going to drag in this shoot animation. And as you can see there, that fits in perfectly. And I'm going to change the samples to 8. That's pretty much the rest of what I've been doing with the other animations. They're around sort of 8 frames per second. Also, if I unclick record and play that, that's fine. It doesn't really matter. I don't really need to play that really. But that's working and that is great. Okay, so what do we then need to do? Let's what should we do? Should we do some scripting or should we create that prefab? No, let's create that prefab. Okay, so annoyingly, with all of these animations that we have within our character, within the project tab, we don't actually have a bullet. So we're going to just have to quickly create one from just mangling a sprite within our hierarchy. So what we're going to do, go to assets. If we go here, right click, let's create sprites square. That'll do. Lovely. Cool. So let's just call this bullet underscore sprite, and then within our hierarchy, let's create a 2D sprite. Let's call this bullet. And what I'm going to do is, oh, actually, are they coming in with the same? Come with the same stuff. Yeah, well, we can. That's fine. Let's edit the sprite here, and then it can. So what I'm going to do, you can create the bullet how you like. So from what I'm going to do is, if I go into animation or click on sprite, and click on shoot, and then just suddenly press play and press pause, I can see, if I zoom in, I can kind of see the gun here. So I want the bullet to be still a fair bit smaller. Let's size that down. Smooth that around. That looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. So what I can then do is then go find that bullet sprite underscore sprite on there. Oh, he hasn't edited it. That's annoying. Maybe I'll just and then edit this. Again, I can just downsize this. Cool, I'm going to make that just a tad smaller. Sorry about this, I'm just being really picky here, aren't I? So when I've done that, I can go into colour, change the colour. I'm going to change it to like a really ultraviolet kind of blue, so it's really going to stand out as a bullet. That'd be fine. I can change the size later if I want to. Okay, so there's some bits and bobs we need to add to this. So number one is a rigid body, so we can when we implement the movement, we can move, we can use the rigid body to move it. So rigid body 2D. What I'm going to make sure on rigid body 2D is number one, that gravity scale is at 0 because I don't want it dropping to the floor. Then I'm going to go to constraint and make sure my freeze rotation is checked on the Z. And for my collision, I'm going to have, for collision detection, I'm going to change from discrete to continuous. Okay. Cool, lovely. So what do we need to do then? Oh yeah, before I forget, we're going to add a box collider 2D, and we're going to make sure this is set to trigger. Fantastic. Cool. So once we've done all of that, we're going to create this bullet. Oh, I've double clicked onto it. We're going to create it as a prefab. So what I'm going to do is click and drag it back into my project tab there. There we go. So it's had a bit of a moment. And as you can see, that icon's now gone blue for our bullet. That's perfectly fine. What I'm going to do is right click on the bullets. And we're going to delete that, but don't worry, as we can see, it is in our assets there. Okay, so we've sorted that out and we've implemented our animation, and now we need to, oh no, we haven't. Let's sort out the animation, shall we? So it's got to window, not layout, that's what I'm looking for, animation and animator. So we get our animator tab pop up. There we go, that's absolutely perfect there. So at the moment there's nothing within my animator tab because I haven't clicked on sprite of where my animator component is. So as soon as I click on sprite, as you can see, we have idle and walk and their transitions between each other. This was already implemented in the package when you download it, so don't worry about that. What we're going to do is implement now our shoot animation there. So what I'm going to do is that shoot at the moment, because this is just an idle pose shoot animation, this is not going to get involved with run or anything. As I said, we've got a run and shoot there if we want, and we can implement those in a bit later. But for now, what we're going to do is create a transition between idle and shoot, and then shoot and idle. Lovely. Cool, so then let's create ourselves a parameter, and as you can see there's already a move parameter there, and that was for the movement animations implementing with the movement script. Cool, so we're not going to worry about the movement. What we are going to do though is we're going to click this plus up here to create a new parameter. We're going to click on trigger, and this trigger is going to be called fire. I don't want to call it shoot simply because it confuses me, because we'll have a shoot script, we'll have a shoot animation, a shoot trigger, and I'm just, okay, they go into the same places, but it's a lot easier to explain in these kind of videos if I say this fire is for this that goes into shoot, blah, 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 instead of me saying shoot about a million times. So once we've done that, we can have a look at our idle to shoot transition. So if you click on that and it turns blue, what we're going to make sure is we have unchecked has exit time, because we don't need an exit time. We are then, under our conditions, going to add, not move, but our trigger of fire, and that's absolutely fine. We are then in the settings, we're just going to change our transition duration to 0. And then if we play this down at the bottom of our preview, there we go, that's looking cool. I did the trigger under the conditions, lovely. Cool, right, now that's implemented, let us have a look at our scripts and implement some bits in. What is that saying? Access bar doesn't have an exit time or any condition. It does now. Don't worry about it. So yeah, pretty much that issue came up because I got rid of exit time before I added in the conditions, so it was having a bit of an issue. But now it won't, because it knows that there is the transition there of the trigger. Okie dokie. I'm not going to worry about shoot back to idle. You can fiddle with that how you want later. Let's have a look at our scripts. So what we're going to do is have a look in our player animation script. So there's 2 scripts that came along with this package that you've just downloaded if you are using this. Player, which holds all the movements and the triggering of the animations, and the animations themselves and the movement of the animation is within player animation script. So if we double click onto player animation scripts and let Visual Studio just load up. Awesome. I then got massively confused because I was like, there's script in here, but obviously, of course there is. So there we go. And there's just a simple little script there to grab and make sure that our animator is going to move, which is good to see. So what we're going to do within the player animation script is we're not going to use update, we don't worry about update. So for now, let's create a brand new what am I thinking, method, and let's call this public void shoot. There we go, lovely. So once we've added that, we are going to say we've already called up our animator, so that's really good. So with this variable here, so what we can say is underscore anim, which should pop up. There it is, lovely. Dot set trigger, because that's what our fire is called. So if we go back to here, we can see that we've got fire and we set that as a trigger under our conditions, and we're going to make sure that we press a button and trigger will trigger fire. So the trigger was called fire, so there we go, let's reference that. Fantastic. We're then in the player scripts. Let's open up the player script. So let's quickly save this. That's absolutely fine. Then in our player script, I think Unity probably wants to compile. That's perfectly fine. Yeah, I know. Open up our player script, which has got a little bit more in it, but don't worry about it. Don't be, don't get put off by it. It's absolutely fine. And within here, we are going to go into our void update. Let's just put it under the movement. And here we can say if brackets input, input dot get button down. There we go, get button down. And let's do fire one just to make it nice and easy. So fire one is already implemented of that's mouse click, if you're unaware of what that input is that Unity has already installed into its systems. So it's good that we can call that up and then mouse click will work straight away, or if you've got a touchpad, that will work the same. So if input.getButtonDown is fire one, then what we're going to say is we're going to then implement that method that we've just created, which was shoot. So we're going to say underscore player anim. So this is referencing our player animation script. As you can see, it's gone pink up here because we are referencing it from the player animation script here within the player script. So that's fine, that will work. So player anim dot shoot, because then we can talk about the methods that we can use, and then we're going to implement that method in as soon as we click fire one. Cool. Lovely. Let's save this. Clear whatever the console wants to say. Go into our scene, press play. Let's see if this works. And as soon as we do the mouse click, there we go. We are firing away. And if we go left, we're firing left as well. That's great. Fantastic. So we've got that animation implemented, but obviously we need the bullet to kind of show up and do its business essentially. So what we're going to do is, let's not pause it, let's just come out of play. And just to make this life a little bit easier, I'm going to move my player down to the ground. Like so, lovely. Hopefully there isn't any clip in there. I'm just going to quickly press play. No, that's fine, brilliant. Cool, so once we've done that, we are going to implement our bullets and also the point of fire. Okay, so the point of fire is where is our bullet actually showing from on the barrel of our gun. So again, I'm going to click on animations or click on sprite, animation, go to shoot, press play, and as we can see, if we pause that, we can see it's right along this line here. So if we use these grids as a guide, 2 blocks in, around there. So what we're going to do is right click, go create empty, and I'm going to call this empty fire point. And at this point, if you have seen the Brackeys video before, you're like, oh, okay, are we just doing the Brackeys thing or what's happening? Well, yes, we are, but we need to implement it with the scripts that we have already written from my tutorial. So it is still worth watching along and knowing how to implement it without doing too much change to the character already. Okay, so we've got our fire point, and let's us. So whereabouts was it? Let's put it around there. That looks quite good. We can always change this later. Move that to about there. Cool. Again, what you can do is that you can actually probably use a sprite renderer and just put something onto it. You could, for example, just put the that's not like that big. Let's go for something a bit smaller. That's fine. Just use any kind of UI thing, and we'll just use this as a guide. And if we press play, and we're just going to see if we're in kind of the right direction. If we shoot, oh, that could come back a left just a tad. Just a tad. That seems perfect. Cool. Lovely. Actually, I might teeny. Lovely. Cool. So the bullet, where that point is, that white dot, that's where we're going to shoot from. Cool. So what I'm going to do is, that's a perfect position. So if I obviously, because I'm in play mode, it won't save anything that I am doing currently. We can get over that by, if I go to the component of that position, which is perfection of where that bullet is going to come out of the barrel of the gun. I'm going to click on these 3 dots here right in the corner and go copy component. I then can come out of play, click on my fire point, and then just paste those component values in. Lovely, just like that. Cool, lovely. And then I'm going to make sure that fire point is then parented with the player. Cool. Right, let's have a look at implementing fire point and implementing the bullet and getting that all moving. Cool, so let's have a look on our player animation script. And here we're going to create some new variables. We're going to create a public transform, and let's call this fire point. And then we are going to create a public game object for our bullet as well. So the transform is for the fire point, and this is for our bullet prefab. So I'm just going to call this underscore bullet. Lovely jubbly. And then in the shoot method, just under here, we're going to say instantiate. And so if you haven't seen instantiate scripts before, this is bringing an object into the game. This is how you do it with an instantiation script. And the way it's done is that you type in instantiate what you would like to be brought in to the script, the position, and then the sort of essentially the X and the Y of the, so the position of the instantiate. So the thing that we want to bring in is obviously our game object up here. So we're going to say underscore bullet. We can then say comma. We want our fire point dot position. So the position of our fire point, fire point, and then we're going to say fire point dot rotation. Cool, because we want the same rotation part as well. We don't want it to be shooting in any kind of different directions or anything like that. So once we've got that, we are going to save that. We're going to head back to Unity. And then on our player scripts, you can see that now on our player script, we've got our fire point and our bullet. So first things first is our fire point. So I'm just going to grab our fire point and add that into fire point there. And in our bullet, we can grab this out of our project files and add bullet just there. Cool. One thing I am going to do is quickly remove the sprite renderer from FirePoint. Cool. Sometimes that can muck things up with this. So I'm just going to drag FirePoint there again. Cool. So we're going to just click play and see what happens. Lovely. So as you can see, we're running around, and when we shoot, our bullets are popping out, but as you can see, they're not moving anywhere. We can deal with that though. And as you can see, we're also shooting this way, but we're shooting the opposite way. Don't worry, we'll get the shooting flipped as well. Do not worry about that. What you're going to do is save that there. Okay, let's have a look. What else do we need to do? So, for our bullet, we need to create a script for this. We need to add a script to it. So if we go add component on our bullet prefab within the project, or if we type in scripts, new scripts, and we're going to call this bullet. And that script should add. There we go. Fantastic. If it doesn't update the drag and drop bullet, we can update that as well. Let's double click onto this. So this is going to be controlling our bullet motion. So what do we need here? Let's have a look. First things first is that we're going to create two variables. We're going to say public float underscore speed, and that's going to equal 20f. We're then going to do public rigid body 2D, and we can call this bullet RB, so the rigid body of the bullets. And then let's implement this into our starts. And this is all we need to do for this. This is quite an easy part. So we're going to say bullet RB dot velocity. As we know from previous tutorials, that rigid body holds its own velocity of movement within its component. So that's why we can bring up velocity. We can then say equals transform. So a new movement of right. So it's going to be going in the right direction. So a plus number, and we're going to times that by our speed and semicolon, and that is that. So we're going to save that. Next part, we're going to find out if the bullet prefab has updated automatically. Let's have a look. No, it hasn't. Don't worry. So we're not going to worry about that. So what we're going to do is click back onto player, and as you can see, bullet there, and I'm just going to quickly re-drag that in. That should update that now. Where has, oh, I clicked on the wrong thing. Cool. So if I click play again, and that still hasn't moved. Interesting, helpful. So what's this as? You probably need to assign the bullet RB variable to the bullet scripts in the inspect. Oh, okay. Yep, you're very smart. Cool. You probably need to assign the bullet RB variable. Oh, okay. Cool. I know what I've done wrong. Okay, so if I've jumped ahead of the gun. So if we click on bullet and we scroll down, we can see that we've obviously, as just describing it, I'm jumping ahead of the gun, excited. You can see bullet rigid body. We haven't got the rigid body of our bullet. So what we need to do is grab that rigid body and drag that into there. So it's the rigid body of the bullet itself. We drag that in. Let's command save that while we're here. Let's press play. And there we go. We are now shooting bullets. And we can run around, shoot some more bullets. Lovely jubbly. If we run that way, we are still shooting bullets the wrong way around. So how can we fix that? There is a way. So if you have been watching Brackeys and he gives you the script, which is fantastic, but at the same time really big and quite confusing. This is a smaller script and a smaller implementation. Still works absolutely fine. It's just a more simplified version. So if we go into our player scripts, at the moment, what's flipping our script is this sprite renderer right here and underscore sprite. And as you can see, if we click on that variable at the top, we can see that in void start, we've grabbed the component that is within the child. So that's been parented together. And we can then see sprite then turns up again under if horizontal input. So at the top of update, float horizontal input is implementing our movement from on the x-axis, and then we're flipping our sprite to either to a true or false to create that element of movement. So what we need to do is create a new variable for this, okay? Because we want to flip everything. So the firing will work left and right, okay? Not just the sprite itself. So what we need to do is, first of all, we're just going to pseudocode out private sprite renderer sprite. So 2 slashes, that will render, that will put that out, so turn it into just normal text. We then can sudo out the get component. And then within here, we are actually just going to fully delete these parts. Easy as that. Cool. Okay, so if horizontal input is more than 0, we want to be able to flip our sprite. So what we need to do is create a brand new variable. So let's create it under sprite. And this variable will be a private ball. This is probably the easiest way to do it, which will then be underscore face right. Okay, so if we say when we're facing right equals true, when we face left, that is false. That's probably the easiest way to do it. And with that, we can still implement that into our if and else statements here without taking loads and loads out and rewriting it and stuff like that. So what we need to do is say if horizontal input is equal to 0 and is also facing, oh, I forgot the ands already, and facing right. So we're null checking here. That's just our, so we're checking if it's true, that exclamation mark. So we're saying horizontal input and face right hasn't changed. So we check the variable, check that it's true, and that will represent that is facing right. So that's absolutely fine. We're then going to say if else if horizontal input and face right, but it's then not going to null check it. It will check if it is not null checked, then it must be the opposite. Okay. So facing left. So with that, we haven't implemented any logic here because we're going to create another method. And we can just call this private void, and let's call this flip or flip sprite. There we go, flip sprite. So with this, we can say if face right is equal to facing right true, we'll then transform dot rotate. So essentially, if we are facing right, we can also face left with transform rotate there. Okay, we're going to save that. Oh, actually, we need to implement it here as well. So once we've written this method, we can say flip sprite and flip sprite, and this should all work. Save that script. Let's let Unity compile. I'm not going to worry about that. Press play. Run this way. Shoot. Lovely. There we go. We have implemented shooting left and right. So if you wanted to create a hitbox of for this, we would implement this the way that you've done before, but instead of the sword being the hitbox, it would be the bullets that would be the hitbox. So you do all the same things. So you can go back to my previous videos and look at how to create hitboxes and eye damageables and things like that, but implement that with the bullet instead of the sword itself. Okay, thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you soon.